Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Lianas Senior Transition Support, helping you navigate home care and senior residences.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Matt Del Vecchio, specializing in elder care planning, downsizing in the senior living industry. Thank you for tuning in. Coming up on the first half of the show, it's Movember. I'm going to be talking to the spokesperson for Movember as we discuss a variety of topics, including men's mental health and prostate cancer. And on the second half of Life Unrehearsed, I'm going to be talking to Dr. Lawrence Rosenberg, President and CEO of CIUS West Central Montreal, about advancements in technology and how it's going to enable us to do more for ourselves. And I'll wrap up the show with my previous partner in crime, Corey Sirota. She's going to be joining me to talk about a very special cause, the upcoming Children's Grief Awareness Day across the country, which is being held this coming Thursday, November 16th. And that's coming up after the 4:30 news. Now, I mentioned Movember and how they deal with advocating for men's mental health. You know, it's important to recognize that men's mental health affects many people here in Quebec, in Canada, and really around the world. I was approached by a colleague of mine who introduced me to Vanessa Da Costa, a truly special young woman who recently lost her brother to death by suicide. Vanessa joins me in studio. Vanessa, welcome to Life Unrehearsed.
Hi, Matt.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. Such a lovely smile and very courageous woman, I must say, for joining me in studio on a very difficult subject, personal to you. So I'd love to hear first a little bit about you, your family story, and you're also in the restaurant business as well as you work. Can you tell us about your family?
Yes, so thank you for having me. I come from a small nuclear family of 4 people. So growing up, it was always me and my brother Fabio and my parents. We have a huge, extended, large family. We're Portuguese. I grew up in Montreal. We spent a lot of times in the summertime going to Portugal. And then in 2017, I opened a restaurant with my brother in La Salle. A lot of people may have heard of it. It's called Viana Grillade Portuguese. And so, yes, I was previously in the restaurant industry. Since my brother's passing, I have sold, but it's still open and people could still go by and have some great Portuguese chicken.
Great Portuguese chicken indeed. Now, I'd like to talk now about Fabio, your brother. When did you start seeing some potential warning signs?
So, Fabio was always a really sensitive, thoughtful, caring young man. I wouldn't say I saw signs of depression from a young age. I saw signs that he was a really deep feeler and deep thinker. So I always sort of was very protective of him. But almost immediately after opening the restaurant, I started to notice that the glimmer in his eyes, the joie de vivre that he had, was sort of being taken over by the pressure of owning a business at such a young age. He was 24 when we opened. I was 28. And then over time, and then during the pandemic and all the lockdowns, I started to see him getting a lot more isolated and sort of distant from me and from my family.
And of course, being in it to this day, many restaurant owners are still challenged. Rising prices and labor are big issues. And like you said, during that time, even you as part owner with your brother, couldn't have been easy running a restaurant.
I mean, it's an industry that is not, unfortunately, we know that it's a very difficult industry to work in. There's a lot of pressure and there's a lot of pressure to perform and sort of put on a happy face, especially when you're working front of house. And back of house is extremely challenging. And with all the changes that you mentioned, it just got a lot more complicated. And we saw Anthony Bourdain committed suicide. There's a lot of other people in the city, well-known chefs. It's a well-known issue within the community. So it's something that we're familiar with, unfortunately, and I hope to sort of bring some light to that, and hopefully that can change in the future. But it's definitely, I think it did contribute to some of my brother's feelings, not all of it, but it definitely did not help.
Talking with Vanessa Da Costa, her brother died by suicide this past past June. And really, Vanessa's out here to advocate for men's health. And good on you for coming in studio. And it can't be easy for you and your wonderful family. Now, you mentioned, you saw some warning signs, but not a lot of warning signs. And then the unimaginable happened this past June. Can you bring us back to that day?
So a few weeks before my brother passed, he had sort of opened up to me and he told me that, one day I'm just not going to show up for work. And I thought he was just frustrated and he was saying he was going to quit. My mind didn't want to go to suicide. So I sort of kept an eye on him and I spoke to him. But that morning on June 15, I got a call from one of our employees telling me that he had not shown up to open the restaurant and start prep in the morning. It was about 7:20 in the morning, and it's very unlike my brother not to show up for work. He was extremely punctual. And so I immediately jumped out of bed and I knew there was something really wrong. And I told my husband not to leave the house. I called my parents, I called the cops, and I stayed on the phone with my parents until they found him in his home. And it was... I felt as though my soul left my body. He was my best friend, and it's something I'll never forget, the feeling of separation from someone you're so close to. But I instinctively knew there was something wrong with him that day. So there had been signs, and then that day they all made sense. It all came together, and from that moment, I promised him and I promised myself that no matter how hard it would be, that I would honor his memory by speaking about this, and especially bringing awareness to young men and making them feel safe and making the world a safer space for people to speak about their feelings.
And, really unbelievable, Vanessa, because it is still fresh. Obviously,
Yes.
still grieving. June is not a long time
No.
ago. And here you are. And when we talked beforehand, you said, Matt, I want to get out there and get the word out and really have the courage and strength to do this. Good on you. And so what can you say to others? Because mental health just cannot be put, swept under the carpet anymore, the rug. And we're getting more and more awareness. We've got a gentleman from Movember coming up. But you really are taking a stance personally because you want your brother's legacy to live on and you can make a difference. So what would you say to others that might be experiencing some mental health and their families?
So, firstly, I want to tell people that they're not alone, that they are worth it, that life is worth living. To reach out to people. I think it's really important that people who notice that their loved ones are struggling, that they ask the hard questions, that they have difficult conversations, because that, you never know, you can be planting a seed and it could save somebody's life. And also, I want people to know, whoever's grieving out there, whoever's lost someone that they really love, whether it's to suicide or something else, it's not linear and it's going to be okay. And, just to take it minute by minute and one day at a time.
Vanessa, just thank you so much. I know you want to give a shout out to an organization that is very helpful for your family. And so let's hear about it.
Yes. So after my brother passed away, I discovered le Centre de Prévention de Suicide de Montréal, the SPSM. They're a local organization that helps people who are struggling and who helps family that are grieving following a suicide loss. You can go on their website. It's cpsmontreal.ca. You can also text 535-353 if you're going through a rough time, and you can also visit suicide.ca to get some more information on how you can help yourself and loved ones.
Vanessa, thank you very, very much for coming in the studio.
Thank you.
All right, that's Vanessa Da Costa, whose brother died by suicide this past June, and she's honoring Fabio's legacy through her advocacy work for mental health and well-being. We're going to continue our conversation in this month of Movember, and we're going to have the spokesperson for Movember to talk about the resources available for mental health in addition to prostate and testicular cancer.